Now it is my honor to recognize or to introduce our featured speaker today. And before I go into the formal bio that he sent over, I just want to say that a year ago I was this man's employee, and it was an amazing honor to work for him. And you should all feel like it's an amazing honor to be a part of this community that he leads. Warren Lehr is probably the most character-driven leader I have ever met, and I have ever been fortunate enough to be directed by, to be led, to be counseled, to be mentored by. And so with that, I'll go into the formal introduction. I just felt I needed to say that because it has been a year. I am in a different position, and this man is the most amazing collaborator in this community, and we're very fortunate for the city and the schools and all of the chamber members that we do have this incredible collaboration, which is why we make Owasso such an incredible community. Warren Lehr began working for the city of Owasso in 1993 at the startup of the Bailey Ranch Golf Course. In 1999, he left Owasso and served as the general manager for Paco Ridge Golf Club in New Mexico, before returning to the city of Owasso to serve as the director of Parks and Golf in 2007. Warren became an assistant city manager in 2009 and accepted the position of city manager in 2014. Following 8 months of an interim role. Warren graduated from Norman High School. He completed a bachelor's degree in communication from Cameron University and received an Oklahoma Secondary Schools teaching certificate. He completed 70 hours of graduate work at Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. He and his wife Nina, who is here with us today, thank you Nina, he and his wife Nina have recently welcomed their second grandson. Welcome, everyone, Warren Lehr.
While we're working on that, it's a great group. Thank you for coming here today. As Chelsea mentioned, my wife, Nina, of 41 years, is here. Nina, wave. Okay. Let's see if I can get situated here. Nina is definitely my better half as you should meet her if you haven't. As one of my former bosses said, you will think more highly of me after you meet her. I don't know if that was a compliment from him or not, but he said, I can't believe you didn't bring your wife along for the interview or whatever the situation was. But you will think more highly of me after you meet her. Always cringe a little bit when the part of the introduction where they mentioned that I was a communications major, because you know what that does? It raises the expectations. And that's, you know what? I've got an idea. There's a little known public speaking tip that they don't teach you in school. You might want to use this someday, but the tip is this. People expect less of the speaker who has one pant leg tucked into his sock. So, you might want to try that sometime. I think the key is one pant leg. If you put two pant legs in, you might be considered fashion forward. But here we go. I've been meaning to share that for years, and it always made second place. Not good enough of a real tip or humor. But I learned this year that Chris Wall, the pastor of First Baptist Owasso, actually preached his first sermon at First Baptist that way. So you have to decide for yourself, was that, nervous oversight, or was that strategy? You don't really know. But Chris, by the way, in May, Chris was elected the president of Oklahoma Baptist. Oklahoma Baptists oversee lots of wonderful organizations, including our Baptist Village, Baptist Children's Homes across the state, Oklahoma Baptist Disaster Relief, which has an international reputation among relief agencies. And Chris was elected to a 2-year term as the president. It's a high honor, and it's one more thing that brings attention to Owasso. So, back to your expectations today. We can make this work. Okay, I think it's going to work. Back to your expectations today. Expectations can be high. I like this quote, Sylvia Plath, author. If you expect nothing from somebody, you're never disappointed. But your expectations should be high today. It's almost all good news. It's hard to be too disappointed about the things that are going on in Owasso right now. But we're going to today remember some things that are important and cover a lot to be grateful for coming out of this Thanksgiving weekend. We certainly in Owasso have a lot to be grateful for. I shared this quote last year. We lose interest and give up when we have no vision, no encouragement, and no improvement. Today we'll cover some vision and encouragement, and the goal of reviewing the vision is to maybe cause us to see things in a different light or rethink some things. We'll see certainly some improvement over the past year, kind of the what and the when of each of those projects, and then a little bit about who we are, or maybe who we want to be as a community, where we are and where we're going, and finally how I think we can get there. Maybe a little bit stronger, healthier, faster, better, as the case may be. But first, who we are and aspire to be. Owasso, real people, real character, real community. You've been seeing that vision brand since 2015. Not the Red Owasso. The Red Owasso predated me by decades. But that real people, real character, real community vision brand has been out in front of us since 2015. I want to take a quick look at vision for community. It's difficult to cast a vision for a whole community, but I'm going to continue to try to do my best. I think it's important that we hold up what Simon Sinek calls a just cause, something to shoot for, even though it might be unattainable. But something about community vision. A community can be very diverse and inclusive. We live in a pluralistic society. We live in diverse communities that we hope are inclusive. However, a community will always have certain values and distinctives that are unique to that community. And we have those here in Owasso. We'll talk about them in a moment. But the vision brand or statement should reflect, to some degree, should reflect those values. So the goal today is to make us think and hold up a standard. There's a saying, vision leaks. Vision leaks, and we lose interest and give up when there's no vision. Vision leaks, so we have to continue to keep raising the standard. I can tell you with 100% certainty that Coach Blankenship never failed to continue to raise the standard, even though your Owasso Rams high school football team was 1-4. 1 win, 4 losses for those of you that don't follow football. For anyone who's been maybe out of town or been away, Owasso this past Friday night beat number 1 ranked and unbeaten Union 50-47 in 6 overtimes. I can tell you, when they started out the season 1-4, Coach Blankenship kept preaching. I understand he preaches hard, smart, tough. Hard, smart, tough. And I can tell you, and I know I've heard him say, next, we just got to go 1-0. We just got to go 1-0 in the next game. And his guys apparently never gave up that vision, and they find themselves in the state championship game this next week. I don't think they're going to give up on the vision. Hard, smart, tough. Now, I don't know if that's a great vision for you on social media or wherever else you are in your family, but it's a great vision for the Owasso High School football Rams. So, moving forward, you've seen these before: real people, law of equality, principles of individuality and respect. These are all important, but here's where I kind of want to focus today: real character, the law of relationship, principles of communication and reconciliation, and then finally real community, law of unity, collaboration, and service. We don't have a chance to get to real community unless we have real people and real character. And I believe we do in Owasso. There's good news here today. Some of our distinctives are centered around that real character aspect of the vision, are valuing other people and valuing relationships. Some of the distinctives, just the character emphasis itself, the strong neighborhood initiative, community policing model, our faith community, pastors and churches are very strong. All have to do with that real character aspect. And these things are never more needed than today, but we're going to focus kind of at that center, real character relationship. This is a quote I used in 2015. People are longing to rediscover true community. We've had enough of loneliness, independence, and competition. You know that that's even more true today. Loneliness is at an all-time high. Joy and peace are in short supply. Anger and anxiety are far too common. You know these things, but a little refresher before we move forward. We'd like to think that we're better in Owasso than what I mentioned, but maybe we are, maybe a little bit. But it's a real threat to community. This altogether is a real threat. We have to continue to be aware, be realistic about where we are in our personal lives and in our places of employment and our leadership responsibilities. We've got to be realistic and intentional in not allowing that threat to affect us. We've actually all been through a lot, more than most of us will care to admit. People in this room are leaders, and oftentimes we don't want to recognize that we've taken a blow, and that's led to kind of the root of our challenge, which is insecurity. I mentioned this last year. The physical, emotional, mental insecurity that we felt over the last few years due to the health and the safety and the financial concerns we've all experienced have led us to our current real challenge, which is current culture. From the COVID pandemic, we've gone to an epidemic of anger. Again, hopefully not so much here in Owasso, but we have to be realistic. Canadian pastor and leadership coach Carey Nieuwhof said, "We live on the verge of a fight in a counterpunch world where oftentimes nobody is even angry at us." We live on the verge of a fight in a counterpunch world when oftentimes nobody's even angry at us. Makes me think of Will Smith at the Oscars this past year. He stormed up on stage and scenarios where people are lashing out at other people. And I love Will Smith, by the way, I'm not picking on him. And I think he worked hard to apologize in appropriate ways. Not making a comment there. But we're in a world, there's a man named Tristan Harris. I don't know if you happened to catch the 60 Minutes episode a couple of weeks ago. Tristan Harris is a technology ethicist. He's a Stanford graduate, a technology ethicist. And on that 60 Minutes program, he talked about the root of our anger and anxiety and trouble and said, really, only at the two extremes, we see it most in politics. At the two extremes, he was asked, how many people make up the far left and the far right? This is really where the most of the anger is spewed from the far left to the far right. He said it's 7 to 8%. 7 to 8% of the far left, 7 to 8% on the far right. So ultimately, he says we've got 15% of our population that is creating this us versus them mentality that he says is supercharging the worst part of us. He actually talked about a structural stupidity for the 85% in between. I hate to use that, but there's a reticence or a reluctance to get involved in something that we know we just don't want to get in a fight. I mean, we're peace-loving people. We don't want to get in a fight unnecessarily. So I don't think we're really there in Owasso where the majority of people are angry at everything, or 15% of the people are angry at everything. But there is a danger that I want to point out, and that is, even though it's not all us versus them, it sort of bleeds into our valued relationships. That us versus them mentality can bleed into our valued relationships because it's what we see on social media, it's what we see in the world. So if we're not careful, this is where we have to be vigilant in understanding and being realistic about the threat. We'll allow that mentality to seep into our valued relationships. In 2022, we talk to people less. especially face-to-face. We believe what others say about them. Tell me that's not true. We typically hear something, we believe it and take it in. We listen selectively, assume motives, and interpret and evaluate positions without evidence. So that type of processing information, really hearsay, I think they call that in the courts, just hearsay, processing that without evidence can get us into trouble. And really there's no hope for reconciliation with offenses that we don't know we've committed. So going somewhere with this, hang with me. There is always hope for relationships that are willing to communicate. So really the theme of today, I want to talk about the power of our words. There's 4 types of communication: speaking, listening, writing, and reading. All words. That's all we've got. Now we can communicate with body language and other things, but words are powerful. Powerful to build up or tear down, powerful to encourage or discourage, include or alienate, reconcile or assassinate, hurt or heal. Words are powerful. Tom Stoppard said, words are sacred, they deserve respect. You get the right ones in the right order, you can nudge the world a little bit. Really, that's kind of what we're all trying to do. Leaders in this room, you're trying to nudge the world a little bit, trying to make it a little bit better for your family, your team, your business, your community, and hopefully we do that well, we nudge the world a little bit. So the question, what do we have to do to make our values, our distinctives, go away? What do we have to do to make our values and distinctives as a community go away? Answer's nothing. Just stop talking about it. Vision leaks. Going to go away. We give up the vision. It's like a ship without a compass. It'll veer off course. That's why the saying, we lose heart and give up when there's no vision. The good news is here in Owasso, we still work those things. Our character initiative is working hard with character lunches and a luncheon where we honor folks. Our Owasso Strong Neighborhoods initiative is pulling out volunteers. We're working in the neighborhoods, working with people face-to-face, helping people out. Our pastors come to the City Hall to pray for the community, and I could go on and on. Just a few more thoughts on what we can do individually, and then we're going to kind of move on to some of the progress in our community with projects. This is a book, Rare Leadership in the Workplace, that our department directors and department assistant directors and deputy directors are working through. It's a very good book. I would recommend it. It's a little different book. It's about neuroscience and common sense, I would say, or brain science and joy. The acronym RARE stands for these things. Real simple. They're all good. Remain relational, act like yourself, return to joy. And if you do those 3 things, you'll endure hardship well. So they're all good, but the takeaway for today is that first one, remain relational. And here's a takeaway sentence for you. People are always more important than problems. People are always more important than problems, or projects, or profits, or personal pride, whatever the case may be. Act like yourself. It's better to be a first-rate version of yourself than a second-rate version of someone else. Judy Garland said that. Return to joy. Say no to the culture, to the social media, to the anger, the accusations. Try to limit your diet of that. And if you do those things, you'll endure hardship well. But let's go back for a quick review of the most widely read success and leadership book of the last century, maybe of all time. That was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Now, I always like to point out that the Library of Congress subtitle for this book was not Powerful Lessons in Personal Change, as you see there. It was Restoring the Character Ethic. Covey was way ahead of his time in talking about we've got to reinstill character into our society, into our workplace, into our leadership to be successful. So real quickly, this is 5 of the 7 habits. These are all good. Relating to what I'm talking about today, be proactive in getting to really know people. Don't believe all you hear. Begin with the end in mind. That's a real people, real character, real community vision for respect and for civility. Put first things first, people over problems. The great book at the turn of the century, 2001, Good to Great, which is another very well-read leadership, one of the most popular leadership books of all time. After leadership, the next chapter is first who, then what. Again, people first. But the takeaway here, and then think win-win, not us versus them. Compromise is necessary most of the time. The takeaway here, though, is seek first to understand, then to be understood. Covey called this the most important principle in relationships. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Adding to that, I would say don't seek agreement, seek understanding. Understanding is always more important than agreement because it allows us to treat those we disagree with respect. Now, you might get there, you might get to agreement with some compromise, but respect always. So that's some food for thought. We'll come back to this later, but for now, we'll wrap it up with this quote. When you stop expecting people to be perfect, you can like them for who they are. So I would say remain relational. People are more important than problems. Seek first to understand, and understanding is always more important than agreement. So let's look at some of our ongoing improvement. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly, but first I want to give you a quote that I got from our Secretary of Transportation, Tim Gatz. In 1787, President Thomas Jefferson said, "Good roads combine the people into a harmonious whole." Oh, that it could be that simple. Good roads were the answer. This is for you, Roger Stevens, and Public Works crew. Good roads are the answer to everything, and we're going to see plenty of evidence of good and improving roads here in a moment. But life was simpler then. Some people would say it was harder. I don't know really if it was harder or not in 1787. Certainly the physical part of it was harder, but we deal with a lot today in our culture. So, in the upper left corner, you'll see CIP, you'll see 50.55 vision recapture. We'll learn more about that later, but the CIP, that's the Capital Improvements Program. Third penny of sales tax in 1983 was set aside for capital improvements. I bet in 1983, a penny of sales tax in Owasso probably took in a couple $100,000, maybe more than that. But today, one penny is about $10 million in Owasso. So the third penny is set aside for capital improvement. Really proud of this slide. In 1996, Poe & Associates said, I think it was 1.4 million per year that we really needed to keep our streets up. And we went for many, many years averaging about 385,000 a year. But from 2013 to today, we've averaged about 1.62 million. The last couple of years has been about 1.8. So I'm going to go through these projects really quickly. So if you've got a question, hopefully we'll have time at the end. Let's see how we're doing right now. Not good for that. I'm going to go quickly. This Garnett Road, as you see these, think of the 10 million per that penny, and there's other money set aside, but Garnett Road widening 96 to 106. This is a $9.4 million project. The tree planting was the last phase of that just recently. Fantastic Island renovation, $1.2 million project, opened this summer. That's actually a picture, a real picture. Looks like a computer-generated picture. But it's a busy place this summer. Great project. Also at the sports park, the Heart Healthy Trail in partnership with the Oklahoma Heart Institute, who helped us with the signage and the health tips. At the sports park also, the regional detention pond, $3.6 million for that project, and an additional $2.8 million in mitigation required by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. 116th and Garnett intersection, as you can see, these are all completed. Part of the 5500s vision recapture, which we'll talk about later, funded by that. That's a $6.6 million project. Another vision recapture project, 116th Street North widening from 129th to Highway 169, $5.2 million for that project. Going on, this is a $16 million project. We're at the utility relocation stage. Should be complete by spring of 2023, next spring. The 116th widening from Garnett to 129th at the construction stage should be complete by fall of next year. 137th East Avenue extension. This is a view looking south. It's basically, most people know it as the Highway 169 service road. The city of Owasso's part was $700,000, but this was a partnership with Tulsa County and with private developers. Completed right there next to the new St. Francis facility. Garnett Road widening 106th to 116th at the utility relocation stage. This is a $12.6 million project. Utilities should be relocated by December next year. Coffee Creek Lift Station, almost complete, will be done next month with cleanup and restoration going into probably the early spring. Central Park stormwater improvements, about a $1.3 million project. The block wall will be complete December of 2022 with cleanup to follow. I realize several in the room don't really know where some of these projects are. You all have individual interest in these projects depending on how you travel Owasso, but we're going quickly. 96th Street roadway improvements, 119th to 129th. This is a picture looking east. This is a $9.8 million project. The engineering is 95% complete. The work that was done recently was temporary asphalt overlay. It was complete in September to protect further damage to the base and to just make the road better for current and holiday traffic while we get to the project. Utilities will be relocated for this project in the winter of 2024. In design, I know this segment is important to a lot of you, the 96th Street North segment from 134th to 145th, $8.2 million project, CIP funded, complete. Engineering will be complete fall of next year. And then again, listen quick, but these four major intersections, they're in different processes. 116th and Mingo, utilities are done. Looking at a winter 2023 completion. 106th and 129th East Avenue, $6 million project. Engineering is 70% complete. Right-of-way negotiations are in process right now. 96th Street North and 129th East Avenue. Utilities due to be moved winter of 2024. And 96th and 145th, $5 million project. Engineering will be done this winter. Recall, President Jefferson said, good roads combine the people into a harmonious whole. Lots of good roads happening. Big project here, OPW, Owasso Public Works Authority, which gains funding through water, sewer, and stormwater fees. Wastewater treatment plant expansion. City of Owasso treats 1.1 billion gallons of wastewater per year. And in 2011, we did an almost $10 million expansion. This current expansion that should be complete next summer is a I'm guessing it's going to be $24-25 million project. Should be the last major expansion. Again, when you look at all these projects and these big numbers, $10 million a year for capital improvement, we're stretching those dollars every way that we can, and I think doing a good job with that. Another project, the Ranch Creek Sewer Interceptor at the acquiring easement stage, that's a $5 million project. Public Works, excited about this, and vehicle maintenance facility project. It's in design at the corner of 116th Street North and Mingo. It's about $11 million budget for construction. Probably another $5 million for some on-site regional detention, but the engineering should be complete winter of 2024. And here's Gary, dear to your heart and dear to the heart of everyone in here for many, many years. This is the timetable for Highway 169 widening. We're currently at the 76th Street Bridge construction, 2024. You can read there, 2026. Moving down the timeline, 2028, 2029. This all, hopefully, we stay on schedule, maybe get ahead of schedule, and this wraps up, and we've got Highway 169 widened all the way up to Highway 20. There's your bridge that's under construction right now at 76th Street. A portion of this is an 80-20 project with the city, and the city's got about $350,000 invested in the 76th Street improvements. But moving forward, I just listed about $130 million worth of city projects there. So excited about that. What's happening in Owasso now? Well, there's good news. As the newspaper boys used to say, read all about it. Tulsa World, front page, above the fold, as they say. Great article, April 10th of this year, investment destination Owasso. The article talks about private investment to the tune of about $130 million, and I can tell you the city of Owasso's investment is over $120 million, so you're looking at $250 million currently being invested in your community. Good news, sales tax collection is remaining strong, property tax is down, Owasso citizens' tax burden is among the lowest in the state, more on this in a few minutes. And the fund balance, basically our rainy day savings, is at an all-time high, hovering around 30%. We used to have a goal of 10% and then 12%, hovering around 30% fund balance, best financial position we've ever been in as a community. With that, operating with excellence, for the 7th year in a row, the city received a very important award from the Government Finance Officers Association. This is a certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting. In reading a portion of the letter, the GFOA says, this award demonstrates a constructive spirit of full disclosure to clearly communicate the city's financial story. It goes on to say, this certificate of achievement is the highest form of recognition in the area of governmental and accounting. So, I think I've used this quote in the past, but famous 16th century reformer John Calvin said, nothing more certainly invites slanderous attacks than to be handling public money. So it should give all of us great pride to know that we're handling public money in a transparent and clearly communicating fashion. So really pleased about that. Protection increasing. Just got news a couple of weeks ago that our ISO rating moved from a 3 down to a 2. We went from a high 3, almost a 4, and lower is better on this rating, down to a low 2. We're just 39 thousandths of a point away from a 1, which is the most highly desired rating, which basically it could make insurance rates go down for property, but more than anything, it's the highest possible rating of a 1 is an indication that we're doing all we can to protect our citizens while also accommodating the lowest possible insurance rate available to our property owners. So, what's new in Owasso? You're probably familiar with most of these things, but probably have been frequenting some of them. Retail, restaurants, services, ministries, New Leaf and Neighbors in Need, highlight those ministries, excited about those. I think it says a lot about Owasso that we have, that we're the New Leaf, I know Mary's here today, but a New Leaf chose to come to Owasso. Ministries like Neighbors in Need and Owasso Community Resources and Mission Owasso and all of our churches are important to be in a great community. And then coming soon, coffee and food and healthcare. Did I mention the coffee? Really key here is St. John Rehab Hospital and St. Francis Warren Clinic up on Highway 20 and 169 to add to our hospital presence here that we already have with Hillcrest, Bailey Medical Center, and St. John Owasso. Also coming soon, and this is a bit of an announcement, I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because we are definitely running very short, but this won't take long. Opportunity to make a difference. Vision for Owasso 5500. You might recall that not quite 7 years ago, citizens of Owasso voted on a 5500ths of a penny vision recapture, and we dedicated it to the improvement of 116th Street North from Highway 169 to Mingo, and the improvements that we're getting ready to make on 96th Street North right there in the heart of our retail district. So a little bit of background on that. So before you see the opportunity to make a difference this summer in the terms of an election that will occur. But the background is, here's what our property tax looks like right now in Owasso. This is the city's portion of the millage rate. This is not what you pay because you still pay property taxes for county and education and other things. But you can see we're at the lowest at 0 there. As far as property tax for city projects, the history of city millage in Owasso goes all the way back to 1973 to 1993, where bonds were issued for $535,000 to pay for the current fire station number 2, which was the old city hall, the Rayola Park pool, and the recreation center, which is now the back building at the Y, $535,000. The city of Owasso residents have been kind of free and clear of paying property tax for city projects since the early 90s. You can see that there are other communities that do not have a millage for city projects. Claremore, Glenpool, Collinsville, Owasso, but you can see how several of the growing communities have quite a bit of millage that amounts to tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. So where we are today, this is, the city's got 0 millage. Here's where your property tax goes. It goes about 2/3 to our Owasso K through 12 education, about 1/5 to Tulsa Tech and TCC, and about 1/5 to Tulsa County government, which is roads, Tulsa County Library, administration, health department, those things. I will tell you though, always hats off to our Owasso public schools. Even though we have a fantastic education opportunity, public education and private, but public education, our millage for Owasso Public Schools is among the lowest in the Tulsa metro area, maybe the lowest at about 66 mills. We can thank, go all the way back to maybe Dale Johnson, but Dr. Ogilvie, Dr. Fishner, Dr. Coates now, Chief Financial Officer Philip Storm is here in the room. So thank you, Owasso Public Schools. Millage love, thank you, Owasso School Board. There's, as you heard earlier, some members of the school board here. Thank you for your hard work. So that's where your property tax goes. This is a chart that shows city sales tax, total sales tax, city, county, and state comparison. You can see that we're right there in the middle at 8.917. Give you a second to kind of look at that. And that's with the current 55/100ths of a penny that was voted on almost 7 years ago. So where does the sales tax that we collect here in Owasso go? 4.05 pennies on the dollar go to the city of Owasso. I mentioned the 3rd penny for capital improvements. There's a 1/2 penny that goes to police, fire, and streets, and then that 55/100ths that we'll continue to talk about. And then 4.5 cents goes to the state, and 367,000 to the county. A little bit of history here on the Vision 5500s. It's originally approved in '03, and the reapproval it began. The original approval was ran from 2004 to 2016, and then the tax rate was 6/10, which was a county tax. I won't go into the details on all the things that paid for. But that was recaptured by Owasso voters in 2016, and Owasso voters, it was presented in a way that that tax, that 5500 sunsets at the end of 2023. And that's that 5500s that pays for those 116th Street North projects and the 96th Street North. So, as is mentioned there, these are the projects that was dedicated to for the 7 years. We estimated at the time, 2016, that it would be about $32 to $34 million for those projects. With COVID delays and supply chain problems and work interruptions and inflation, it's more like $48 million. But we're continuing on with those projects. The plan going forward, this is kind of the key part. The plan is to take this 5500s back to the voters this summer and make it permanent. The other communities in the Tulsa area all made it permanent. We sunsetted it at 7 years. Jinx also sunsetted it at 15 years. Everyone else made it permanent. But the plan would be to take that back to you, the voters, and dedicate it to transportation, dedicated to street rehabilitation, arterial expansion and extensions, modern signalization, The complete streets that you see, like on 129th and Garnett, where you've got bike lanes, sidewalks, family trails, or a wider sidewalk, and then median landscaping, and also hiking trails. So the goal will be to present this to the voters this summer, dedicated to transportation, all kinds of transportation, and listing 4 or 5 projects, including a hiking trail project, to be fully transparent, disclosing, and complete those projects, commit to the public we're going to complete those projects first, and then after that, projects will be determined by the Transportation Master Plan, City Council, staff, and CIP recommendation. So the way that would look for $100 in taxable goods, currently at 8.917, $8.92. Math's not hard here at $100. If that tax went away, you'd save 55 cents. The opportunity to make a difference is for the City Council to call an election. There's a June 8 deadline for an election on August 8th. That looks like the time to have that election. So, a little insight there. We're going to wrap this up and finish up. But I do want to take this time, it's a good time to thank our City Council. Our City Council makes a way for all these projects to happen seamlessly. Our city staff obviously implements the wishes of the City Council. We've got a great council and a great staff, so please thank them. At this time, if you work for the City of Owasso and our City Councilors, please stand up and let us thank you. So these are the people that that make it all happen, and it is a great crew, and it is a solid City Council. These 5 councilors, although they're maybe independent in their thinking, they're all unified in their heart for public service and their heart for improving Owasso, and they keep us on track. I want to close for a vision of who we can be and maybe some expectations we should all have of one another. So a real community requires counterculture. We have to be different than today's culture. Real community is counterculture. Some basics, the ABCDs, if you will, of real community. First off, appreciate others. It's not about me, it's not about you, it never is. There's people in our lives we need to appreciate. People are more important than problems. Dale Carnegie said, it's within your power to increase our world's happiness. How can we do that? He says, by giving a few words of sincere appreciation. Carnegie said, you may forget tomorrow the words you say today, but the other person may cherish them for a lifetime. And the good news for your business, appreciating others, the University of California, Berkeley did a study that showed that recognition increased employee performance by 23% when employees feel like they're being recognized for their work. But that improved performance goes to 43%, a 20% jump when employees feel they're being valued and cared for by their peers and especially by their supervisor. So gratitude is powerful. Recall, every single person you come into contact with is under incursion, overwhelmed on some level. Gratitude's important. Proverbs says anxiety weighs down the heart, but a kind word cheers it up. Some of you are blessed with great smiles. I said this earlier, but your face lights up when you see other people. And I wish I was blessed with this. Many of you are, but that's a superpower that you have. Just that simple, that big smile and the kind word. You know, there was a study done recently on babies, and as a grandparent, you look into these studies. But a study that showed that big smiles are key to a baby's brain development. Big smiles are key. The scientists guess that the baby senses that they're being delighted in, and there's just something in our human makeup that just loves being delighted in by a big smile. I think that continues on into adulthood, which takes us to build people up. Remember, we lose interest and give up when we have no vision, no encouragement. Building up is encouragement so that they don't give up. It's people's number one psychological need to be affirmed, encouraged, validated, and valued. Appreciating and encouraging people doesn't require being friends, doesn't require affection for them, or agreement with them. All that's required is respect and valuing worth as a person. I think you know, even the smallest compliment about clothes or appearance, when someone says, I like that tie, I like that coat, I like your hair, whatever, you know how those things make you feel. Just that simple, small comment can make someone's day. Every day, in every conversation or situation, you have the power to speak life into people with the words that you choose. This is a great quote. Only speak words that make souls stronger. And then C, call others up, not out. Seek first to understand. You can do more damage. We can do more damage with words than anything we have power over. We can destroy a person with our words. They don't even have to be present nowadays. Don't let your ego or insecurity win. Our Assistant City Manager, Chris Garrett's got a fundament that he goes by. It's the 8th fundament. Never do anything that makes you feel good when you're mad. It's a good one to remember. Never do anything that makes you feel good when you're mad. You see that a lot nowadays. Gets us in trouble. So instead of calling others up or calling them out, let your response call them up to civility, or just refuse to engage. That's always a good plan on social media. On the other hand, call people up. So that's a nice tie, or that's a nice coat. We know what that means, but what about if you take it up another level and say, you're such a kind person, or you're so good at that. I wish I was as good at that. So our words are powerful. Poet Carl Sandburg said, be careful with your words. Once they are said, they can only be forgiven, not forgotten. Our words should endear in us a sense that other people are not only, that we're not only for them, but that we're not out to get them, that we never wish to hurt them. People can sense that we're for them. Finally, decide to be different. Different than everybody else. Act like yourself. Different than our culture. In summary, people are more important than problems. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Understanding is more important than agreement. And to truly make a difference, we have to be different. Respect those you don't agree with. One little final takeaway. One of the best measures of a real community is how it treats those who disagree with it. Do we treat them with civility and respect, or do we send them to the outside? Do we alienate them? Remember, your words always matter. You can be a ray of light in every interaction that you have with every person you meet. We can use our words spoken or written to breathe life into people or to suck the life right out of them. Let's look for opportunities to lay down our opinions and our desire to be right and live in the stream of simple human kindness and respect. Words of respect and kindness breathe life into real community. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a little bit of time to take a few questions. Does anyone have, this is an opportunity for you once a year, captivated audience, to ask your city manager any questions. Anyone have a question? I'll come to you with a microphone. Okay.
You mentioned a lot about road improvements and stuff like that. Is there anyone looking at the section of 145th just south of 86th Street North, right in front of Hodson there? That seems to be a real traffic problem, and it's getting worse with the new businesses going in.
I can guarantee you we're looking at it, but there's someone in the audience here, Roger Stevens, if you want to take a shot. Which segment again? Roger, would you come on up? Which segment? He knew he might be called into this service. Did you guess the segment?
86 or 145? Just south of 86, 145 south of 86. 145 just south of 86. Yeah. Just south of 86, that's the road going dead end towards Panama, right? You want to know what we're going to do with the road going to the south? Yeah, it is. I mean, the school traffic backs up through there. We've got 2 divisions there that live in entrances along that road, dedicated to that road. And the traffic's getting worse as people going the wrong way down the road, and especially during school hours to pick up. I don't know if you looked at it. We have a project, improvements at 86th Street, basically from that intersection that we're looking at right now, from 145th out to 161st. At that time, we would focus and look at what we can do to improve that intersection. So that is a project that we're hopeful that will be in design sometime in 2023.
Thanks, Roger. I can tell you that we're always looking at every street segment within the city limits, assessing them and prioritizing them, and also looking to work with Tulsa County in every place that we can to improve those roads that we have some joint responsibility over. Any other questions?
Other questions?
Thank you for your patience. I've kept you a little bit long. I appreciate each of you.
Warren, thank you so much for your leadership and for your message. Thank you for, sorry, my phone is ringing. Thank you for being with us today. Everyone, all of you in the room, thank you for taking your time for being here today as well. I would be remiss if I did not show some appreciation to my staff, your chamber staff, Priscilla Wenzel, our membership manager, and Susanna Landon, our programs and events manager. Thank you, ladies, for everything that you do. With that, we hope to see you back here next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow, for our December luncheon. If you show up, you get a Christmas ornament. So, not that we're trying to bribe you to get here, but looking forward to a great program. We're going to have the Owasso High School Jazz Choir giving us some good holiday music, as well as you will get to hear a song sung by our very own Priscilla Wenzel. So, very excited to be able to just add to your holiday enjoyment, hopefully, next Wednesday. Until then, have a great week and happy holidays.